There was reportedly an incident at a Starbucks in Arizona I guess last week. Some police officers say that they were asked to leave or to move to a different table because they were sitting next to a customer who was uncomfortable being around police officers. This customer felt unsafe, apparently. And the unsafe feeling customer reported those feelings to the staff at Starbucks, and the staff, rather than responding by laughing in the customer's face, as they should have done, actually went up and asked the cops to get up and leave. The local police union put out a statement about the incident describing what happened, and here's their description of it. It says, yesterday on Independence Day, 6 police officers stopped by the Starbucks at Scottsdale Road and McKellips for coffee. The officers paid for their drinks and stood together having a cup of coffee before their long 4th of July shift. They were approached by a barista who knew one of the officers by name because he's a regular at the location. The barista said that a customer did not feel safe because of the police presence. The barista asked the officers to move out of the customer's line of sight or to leave. Disappointed, the officers did in fact leave. The treatment of public safety workers could not be more disheartening. While the barista was polite, making such a request at all was offensive. Unfortunately, such treatment has become all too common in 2019. All right. Now, Starbucks has apologized and pledged to do better and yada, yada, so on. But that's not enough to stave off speaking of boycotts, so there was a boycott of Starbucks over this. There was a boycott Starbucks campaign. So there's boycott Starbucks, boycott Nike, boycott Home Depot. This is all in a week. All these boycotts are happening. And that's not to say that it's not without cause. I mean, this incident, I mean, this is crazy. The fact that the idea, the claim that police officers would be asked to leave because one customer felt unsafe with police officers. In fact, let's just think about this for a minute. If you're the cashier at a restaurant, and there are a bunch of police officers in the place, and then another customer walks in and asks you to kick out the police officers, there are a lot of reasons to ignore that request. Like it's crazy and unreasonable and just, of course, I'm going to ignore. But also, I would be pretty concerned about why does this person not want police officers around? Certainly, as someone working behind a register, I would feel a lot safer with the cops. So it's just a general rule of thumb. If you work behind a register and there are cops in there, and then some other person walks in and says, "Hey, can you get rid of those cops?" Yeah, I mean, we'll worry about my transaction in a minute, but if you could just kick those cops out first. And hey, by the way, you see those security cameras? They make me feel unsafe too. I feel, it's voyeuristic. I feel watched. If you could just cut those off, I think that'd be great too. And the register, when it's locked like that, it makes me feel, it feels like you don't trust me. So if you could just open the register and go wait in the back for 10 minutes. Yeah, I'd be worried about that personally. So it's obviously completely ludicrous. These cops were paying customers. They weren't, by any accounts, in there threatening anybody. They were just sitting there drinking coffee. And that is an important point, because when this controversy was happening last week, there were a lot of people, in this case, defending Starbucks, or at least saying that we shouldn't be outraged about it. And they were drawing comparisons to the incident that happened a couple of years ago at a Starbucks in Philadelphia, which you may remember, where there was a huge blow up because a couple of black men were asked to leave the establishment. And then when they refused to, the cops were called on them. Now, I defended Starbucks in that case. I don't defend them here. And there were plenty of liberals online last week saying, "Oh, well, you're a hypocrite if you would, or you're a racist. I mean, why else would you? So you're fine with them kicking out black men, but not officers. You must be racist. What other explanation could there be?" Well, I'll tell you the other explanation, because there's a very clear difference. In the case a couple of years ago, those people who happen to be black, their race really is not relevant. The fact is, these were individuals who were sitting in a busy Starbucks restaurant, taking up tables and not buying anything. Now, if you've ever been to a busy Starbucks, you know that table space can be hard to come by. There are plenty of times when I go to a Starbucks and I want to sit down with my laptop and do some work, and I can't because there are people sitting at the tables, which, fine. I mean, they got there first. But if I came into a Starbucks and I bought something and I saw someone taking up a table who hadn't bought anything and was just sitting there, yeah, I'd be annoyed by that. It's like, you're not a customer. I earned the right to that table by buying this coffee. You didn't do that. You should leave. So that was the issue with the Starbucks in Philly, that these people were sitting at a table, not buying anything, and you don't have a right to take up space at a table if you don't buy something. You have to be a paying customer. Very simple policy. So the manager, who was thrown under the bus by the CEO of Starbucks and was slandered as a racist, the manager, who was simply trying to enforce company policy, and a reasonable company policy, went over to the people and said, hey, you got to buy something if you want to take the table. That's fine. What do you want? I'll get you a coffee. I'll get you a bottle of water. She offered to serve them like she was a waitress, actually bring the stuff to the table for them. She was so desperate to just get them to buy anything at all. Just buy anything, and you are a paying customer. You could take the table. They categorically refused to buy something. They refused. And that's when she had no choice but to call the police, because at that point they're trespassing. When you come into a restaurant and say, I'm going to take up a table, I'm not going to buy anything. I don't feel like that. Get out of my face. I'm not buying anything. Well, you deserve to be taken out in handcuffs. I mean, you're such a jerk. You couldn't just buy a bottle of water just to follow the policy and earn your right to a table. That's what happened there. In this case, these officers had all bought coffees. They were paying customers. Sitting at, not only paying customers, but apparently at least one of them, a regular paying customer, sitting there enjoying a coffee, and they were asked to leave. Not because of company policy, but because one other customer felt unsafe. Totally different scenarios, and one is completely justified, the other is completely unjustified. I think that's pretty obvious.